While taking on another challenge recently, something absolutely insane happened. Manchester United, who are usually rather good on Football Manager, were relegated in Season 1. And I know that they've been terrible recently, but even still for Football Manager, that's crazy. However, it obviously opens up to the challenge of rescuing Manchester United. But I'm going to try and follow the instructions of ChatGPT. And so I've created a prompt for ChatGPT to explain our situation and to ask if it might be my main advisor for this Football Manager challenge to help with tactics and transfers and create a roadmap back to hopefully win the Premier League. And for once, I was waiting a long time for it to think about its response before it came back with a huge plan of attack. And this is what ChatGPT came up with. So you can see it's so detailed all the way down to a tactical blueprint. Even if Bruno Fernandes decides to leave, if he stays, we go to a different type of formation. The mentality, the instructions of every single player role. There's a plan B and a plan C as well. Set pieces are done for me. Evolution for the Premier League for when hopefully we get ourselves promoted. There's a squad audit as well of players that we should keep and sell, and hopefully there's actually replacements as well, because if we look at the transfer strategy, there's that as well. We can look at players that we should be bringing in and attributes we should be looking for if we do go for a player like that, including actual targets. There's targets here that we should be adding to our shortlist that ChatGPT has suggested that we go for. Long-term plans if we push for the Premier League, players that we should bring in, even advice of how to avoid financial fair play and stay ruthless. Season by season roadmap, so there's a season 2 target there. For some reason, they don't think we'll get promoted in the first season. We'll change that. Premier League return, for when that actually happens, we should be upgrading certain positions. And there's even a quick shopping list by role. So if Bruno leaves, there's players here that, absolutely could fit into the gap. If Rashford leaves, again, players that are quite good. If Højlund leaves, there's strikers as well. And if Onana leaves, which, hey, hopefully he does, there's a lot of options here for us. So I think we've got our instructions to follow. And so I appointed myself as Manchester United boss as the first step in what could be a trickier task now that ChatGPT is involved. And my first job was to set up the tactic that ChatGPT requested, following all the player roles and also giving the player added instructions if it was mentioned, such as my left back overlapping, so to stay wide, or my right winger to cross to the striker, as well as following the tactical instructions to exactly what was suggested, from the direct style of play down to the standard defensive line, which was down to the idea of being careful while playing on poor winter pitches while in the Championship. The players in the tactic who ChatGPT is suggesting to build the team around and keep at the club as the core members if they'll accept and stay. But there was some other names they suggested that might be useful to stay around, as well as a list of players who should be the first out the door. Now obviously a couple of these are a bit outdated. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's in there. I don't even think De Ligt's in the side. So I'll go by my best judgment. But just so you know as well, this is using the FM Inside.net updated database from like February, where Chelsea were in the Conference League. This is where that challenge came from. Now I know there's a lot of stigma around ChatGPT as well, and how harmful and detrimental it is to the environment, but I do drive an electric car, so okay, let's just leave those conversations out of it, shall we? And just enjoy the video. The first name out the door was actually Ugarte, who went to Barcelona and wasn't on the essential list of players. But that meant I could follow on another instruction of ChatGPT in buying a long-term target for centre mid, and I knew just which one I wanted. And while João Gomez is someone they suggested and would be interested, Alan Varela at Porto is a player who has better physicals and would suit the Championship more in my opinion, and he's cheaper than Gomez. My main aim this summer though is to reduce the wage budget of the players at the club, and we are currently spending £3 million a week. And that was becoming difficult with real-life problem child Jadon Sancho, who rejected Bayern Munich to stay with United in the Championship. There was a crazy loan offer for Andre Onana from Spurs that seemed too good to turn down and could be made permanent as well. And Anthony was also joining him in London as he accepted a nearly £40 million bid to West Ham. I did, however, have another problem with one of our core members identified by ChatGPT in Marcus Rashford, who is wanting to leave, and even though I tried to keep around, we agreed if somebody bids for 80 million, I'll let him go. Christian Eriksen was going the other way to Varela and signing for Porto, which was another player on ChatGPT's to sell list. And there was more offers for Jadon Sancho, however they were all loans with options to buy, and at this point I just want him gone. On the same day as Andre Onana was gone though, Alan Varela joined and funny enough was on the same wage as Onana. In the season that Manchester United were relegated, there was over £113 million spent, so there are some other players at the club that I also have to juggle and contend with that I could sell or use as well. And there were certainly a couple of players that I had no interest in using going forward. But by the time the first game of the season came around, we were still stuck with 2 out of the 3 highest earners in Casemiro and Sancho, and along with some others who rejected any moves. Either way, our ChatGPT guided era was underway and began with a cracking 4-1 win at home to Sheffield Wednesday. We did pick up a couple of bad results rather early on into our season, before the transfer window even closed in fact, and there were concerns from the off about the task in hand or the tactic that ChatGPT gave us. But as soon as the season went on, we looked far more comfortable, and one player in particular stood out and stepped up. Rasmus Højlund. He scored nearly 50 goals this season, and it was mainly down to the fact that his teammates actually crossed him the ball. He scored 48 goals in fact, while Rashford gained 20 assists, Bruno almost had the same, and Luke Shaw, even from that left back position, had 18 assists as well. So it was time to let ChatGPT know that we might be ahead of their plan of staying in the Championship the first year, and we'll be playing Premier League football next season, and ask for the next steps. There might also be some people who want to try this challenge as well, and what I'll do is I'll get the save file from exactly where Manchester United were relegated, so you can actually take them on yourself and become their manager and try and rebuild them from the Championship, because I know when I advertised this last time, quite a few of you took up on that offer. So it's going to be on my Patreon, on the £5 tier, or on the YouTube channel members page. If you go down there, that's where I put all my save files for everybody to download, and you help support the channel and help Dad be part of my team and off work. So thank you very much to everybody who decides to do that. Alright, so I gave ChatGPT the update. Season 1, we have now finished and we are champions going back to the Premier League. Told in the players that we have sold. Also explained that Rasmus Højlund was fantastic, 48 goals. But our main weakness is now goalkeeper and right back. We only got £70 million to spend in the transfer window. What would you suggest be the targets? And what tactical tweaks to make us ready for Premier League football next season? So thought for 54 seconds. Just waiting for ages. So we've got goalkeepers coming back, so the likes of Mamardashvili, but again, it's not updated. It still says it's Valencia. Unai Simon. That's going to be a difficult fee to get, 35 to 45, but hey, we'll give it a go. There's also like developmental goalkeepers we could go for, but right backs, there's a few good right back options that I'm sure we could bring in. I don't know how much Man City are willing to part with Jan Couto if he was to come to their rivals, but if there's any cash left, they're actually suggesting right wingers. Now we've got Amad Diallo, who's been doing really well, as well as a right centre back as well. So there's lots of options, and they've given us tactical tweaks. It's still a 4-3-3, but they are looking to maybe make a few switch ups, it seems. So I'm going to have to change all of the instructions that they have given us to whatever they feel like it's going to be tweaked for this year. They've even mentioned how to feed Højlund going forward. So there's other tactical instructions that I can obviously use in that. We need to get rid of the likes of Sancho. They are on the same wavelength with me. They still don't realise I don't have Wan-Bissaka, but Casemiro is still around as well, and he needs to go first. But they give us a nice, clean action list of what we need to do in what order, so I'll get cracking. First things first then, let's switch around the player roles into what ChatGPT has suggested, which ultimately includes the right back and 2 number 8s as the main changes. And this also came with some interesting instructions as well, including shorter passing with a slower tempo, which I am still slightly unsure about. And for our possession, they want us to trap on the outside, which is something I rarely use also. More attempts to get rid of Sancho and Casemiro were also high on the agenda, as we can bring in both ChatGPT's first choice targets for the players coming in if they do leave. The first target for the goalkeeper, I was surprised he managed to bring in, considering his recent move to Liverpool, but we have Mamardashvili for a little more than ChatGPT had suggested. A huge sigh of relief when Jadon Sancho finally left the club for £24 million soon followed. Casemiro was gone too, and our wages are slowly starting to look better for it. Alongside Mamardashvili though, ChatGPT's favourite right back was Gertrude as the best all-round option for that position. And Jadon Sancho leaving brought in just enough funds to cover that transfer from happening as well. We had about £30 million left once everybody had gone, and I asked ChatGPT what they would suggest for centre-back cover to bring in, and although some of the suggestions were again a bit outdated, they gave us a formula for attributes that we can certainly work with. So I put in the 7 highlighted attributes they said to base this around, and they gave us a list of players that ChatGPT believed would work in our system. The one that stood out for me the most is the Crystal Palace French defender Lacroix, who we brought in for £46 million. Who, funny enough, was also ChatGPT's first option as well as a Tier A target in their list of defenders, albeit from his former club. So we are set up slightly different from last season, and of course have the option of Lacroix to help our defence, which now includes Mamardashvili and Gertrude. There was even massive bids for Højlund from Inter Milan, which is funny considering real life, but in this timeline, I'm going to reject for now. However, it became very apparent early on into the season that the tactic ChatGPT gave us isn't working. We were not doing very well at all, and we failed to win a single league game by the international break in October, and that's where I began to worry about my job. So I headed back to ChatGPT and told them the situation we were in, and they came back with some tactical changes for us to make to hopefully turn our season around. So I made the changes that was mentioned, and I'm still really unsure of its capabilities because of the team instructions it has given me mainly with the ball, and I may have to ask it again depending on the results to be much more direct and faster paced. We have a secondary problem too. We are currently without 4 of our attackers, 3 of them are starters, who are out with injuries for the next month, and in Rashford's case, months. In the next match, I was seriously concerned because we once again failed to score in a 0-0 draw at home with Leicester City. And after another loss to Aston Villa in the following fixture, I was back to ChatGPT and in crisis mode, telling them what I believe to be the problem and hoping that they will see this and start making some more serious changes. And what they came back with was again a 4-3-3. However, there was a secondary 4-2-2 tactic for when we needed a goal, which we certainly do. So I decided to go for that 4-2-2 from the off, still following every instruction they have given me and hoping and praying it will change our season around. And although our first game after this change was against bottom of the league Middlesbrough, it was still a good sign as we smashed them 5-0, but we weren't out of the woods just yet. We then hit such a difficult run of games, starting with Liverpool, followed by Chelsea, Arsenal and Manchester City, all in a row, and yet again we were struggling and starting to lose games without even scoring any goals. We suffered 4 losses from 4 in a row thanks to those games, and I just hope they don't sack us now as we have a bit of an easier run in December. However, it was another embarrassing loss to Luton Town, 3-0 as well, and the board are calling us in for a meeting and they want answers, and rightfully so. And I don't know how they haven't sacked me just yet, but we are given our final chance to survive. And with the players injured or suspended, including Højlund and Bruno Fernandes, I do not fancy our chances against Wolves. And yet again, we go goalless and concede the only goal of the game, which was enough for the board to terminate our contract and sack us immediately before we were to get the club relegated for a second time in 3 seasons. And even when I told ChatGPT the bad news, they still thought I wanted to hear what would be some good tactical changes to switch things around going forward, which of course is the opposite of what I was looking for. I mean, there we have it. ChatGPT well and truly failed not only me, but Manchester United as well. It was okay in the first season when we didn't exactly come up against quality, but clearly, 1 win in the Premier League in how many games? It was 16 games, 1 win. With that Manchester United, we had injuries, but that is no excuse. So there we have it. ChatGPT cannot run our Football Manager rebuild. Nowhere near as good as a person can. So if you do enjoy this video anyway, let me know, and of course make sure you are subscribed. And if you're wondering what to watch now and where you want to see some kind of success, have a look on how I rescue AC Milan using the youth to gold method. That video is on screen right now.